Remember last week that we looked at the story of creation in the Bible. Genesis chapter 1 tells us how God created the world, and we looked at the order that he made each thing. We looked at how all Christians believe God created the world, but some believe it was exactly as the Bible says, in 6 days, whereas others believe science shows us it wasn't like this. Christians who believe in the science still believe God created the world, just not in 6 days. This week we're going to look at how there are different ideas about the relationship between the biblical account of creation and how science explains it. Depending on what a Christian believes about creation affects their view of science. It either conflicts with the biblical account or complements it. To understand that there are different ideas about the relationship between the biblical account of creation and scientific explanations, we need to have a look at some of the scientific ideas that there are explaining creation. One of these ideas is the Big Bang Theory. Astronomers and scientists today believe that the universe began about 14 billion years ago, when an extremely hot and dense bubble, even smaller than the head of a pin, exploded, sending all the matter and energy contained in the bubble out in a huge blast. The universe started getting bigger and bigger, with billions of protons, neutrons and other particles floating around space. Eventually, the temperature cooled enough for the particles to combine, creating neutral atoms and matter. Another theory is evolution. This is the theory that all kinds of living things that exist today developed from early types. The differences between them resulted from changes that happened over many years. The simplest forms of life arose at least 3.5 billion years ago. Over time they evolved into the millions of species or types of living things alive today. The theory of evolution explains how primitive life forms have changed and adapted over millions of years to become the complex living organisms living on Earth today. Some people believe that these scientific ideas contradict or are against the account of creation in Genesis 1, and therefore they can't be true. Other people believe the scientific theories back up the account of creation, and it just depends on how you interpret the idea of 6 days. Here's what one senior astrophysicist said when she was asked, "What does your experience as a space explorer teach you about God?" She said, "I don't believe studying the heavens scientifically will prove the existence of God. Science isn't a tool for proving or disproving God. In fact, when there are things we don't understand in nature, it's very dangerous to say this is evidence of God. However, if one does have eyes of faith, one can look at some of the things we see in the universe and infer some characteristics of God. We see unbelievable beauty in the universe. Looking at images of space, we see spiral galaxies that are awesome in their symmetry and brilliance. There are hundreds of billions of galaxies and hundreds of billions of stars in each galaxy. It should continue to make your jaw drop. The God that I continue to believe in has been working for an awfully long time, sculpting the universe through the magnificent laws and dynamics of nature. It's absolutely awe-inspiring." Then there is this letter, an open letter from 13,000 priests and vicars concerning the relationship between religion and science. It says, "While virtually all Christians take the Bible seriously, the overwhelming majority do not read the Bible literally, as they would a science textbook. Religious truth is a different order from scientific truth. Its purpose is not to convey scientific information, but to transform hearts. We, the undersigned, Christian clergy from many different traditions, believe that the timeless truths of the Bible and the discoveries of modern science may comfortably coexist. We believe that the theory of evolution is a foundational scientific truth, one that stood up to rigorous scrutiny and upon which much of human knowledge and achievement rests. We ask that science remain science and religion remain religion, two very different but complementary forms of truth." So, even though all Christians believe God created the world, some believe science explains how, while others believe science is wrong. Your first task this week is to consider the main ideas you've learnt about Christian beliefs, about God as creator. You need to draw a continuum line from all Christians believe to no Christians believe. On the next page there are some key ideas or views about creation. Some are ones that all Christians believe, some are views that some Christians believe, some are views of atheists, people who do not believe God exists. Think about where each statement goes on the line. For example, God is creator goes here because all Christians believe that God is the creator of the world. Religion is make-believe. Well, Christians don't believe that. That's an atheist view. So that goes over at this end by no Christians believe. And a view such as the narrative in Genesis 1 is true, but not literally true. It contains truths about what God is like. Some Christians believe that, but not all Christians. So that can go somewhere in the middle here. See if you can work out where to put each of the statements. Some of them you might not be sure about, but that's okay. Just have a go and see if you can have a think about which one they belong to. Your second task is to write a paragraph to summarise what you've learnt about Christians and what they believe about the Bible account of creation and science.